Hi students, welcome to Narayana Medical Academy. I am Dr. B. Kalyan Swami, working as Senior Zoology Faculty Member in Narayana Medical Academy. Today I am going to discuss the chapter Locomotion and Movements. Locomotion and Movements. Under this, we are discussing two parts. One is muscular system, another is skeletal system. Two parts comes under this, muscular and skeletal system. Before going into that, what is movement, what is locomotion? Movement means what? Replacement, movement of any part. Locomotion means there is a change in the organism from one place to another place. A change in the position is called as locomotion. A change in the body part, that is called what? Movement. All locomotions are movements, but all movements are not locomotions. This is the movement. This is the movement of forearm towards the upper arm. This is the movement. But when I am moving from one place to another place, this is the locomotion. All the locomotions are movements, but all movements are not locomotions. If you go to the, even if unicellular organisms like amoeba, here the locomotion takes place with the help of structures called as pseudopodia. The pseudopodia in amoeba not only helps in locomotion but also helps in food capturing. Similarly, if you go to paramecium, which is also a free swimming unicellular organism where the entire body covered by cilia. Cilia helps in swimming, and not only helps in swimming and also helps in food capturing, passage of food through the cytopharynx. Then going to what? Hydra. No doubt Hydra is a sedentary animal, that is no doubt, but in search of food materials, Hydra performs locomotions also. Surrounding the mouth in Hydra, 8 to 10 tentacles are present. These tentacles helps in both food capturing and also locomotion. Like in this way, each and every organism performs locomotion. Very few organisms like poriferans, polypoid cnidarian, very few, they are non-motile, they are called about sedentary animals. But majority of animals are motile, Coming to this movements first, all movements are not muscular movements. These movements are two types, non-muscular movements, where no muscles are involved, and muscular movements. Non-muscular movements like amoeboid movements, ciliary movements, flagellar movements, these are non-muscular movements. In addition to this, diapedis is exhibited by WBC, metastasis exhibited by cancerous cells, movement of chromosomes towards the opposite poles at the time of cell division, all that are non-muscular movements only. But mainly amoeboid, ciliary and flagellar movements. Amoeboid movement, just now we discussed, seen in the organisms like amoeba, entamoeba, where pseudopodia are present. In higher organisms like us, the macrophages, phagocytic cells also exhibits amoeboid movements. amoeboid movements. In these amoeboid movements, the formation of pseudopodia movements are because of changes that are occurring in the cytoplasm. Change because of the movements in the cytoplasm. Here plasma sol converted to gel, gel converted to sol. Because of movements in the cytoplasm, changes in cytoplasm, amoeboid movement takes place. Along with that, some cytoskeletal elements called as microfilaments that also helps in the amoeboid movements, cytoskeletal elements. Okay students, then coming to ciliary movements, these are very common in protista members like Paramecium verticella. In us, some cells are provided with cilia, ciliated epithelium present, like trachea, bronchi. They are lined by ciliated pseudostratified epithelium. Large bronchioles are by ciliated columnar epithelium. Similarly, fallopian tube of female reproductive system, all these are lined by ciliated epithelium. In trachea, bronchi, the cilia helps in that prevents the entry of dust particles into the lungs, thereby protects the lungs. Whereas in fallopian tubes, the cilia helps in downward passage of gametes. In that way, that is useful. Coming to flagellar movements are seen in Euglena, Trypanosoma, Leishmania like protista members, and the movements that are exhibited by sperms of human beings, that are also what flagellar movements. This is about non-muscular movements, my dear students. Then coming to muscular movements, which are helped by muscles. Here external movements are there, internal movements are there. What are internal movements? Like respiratory movements, inspiration and expiration. That is because of contraction and relaxation of intercostal muscles and phrenic muscles of diaphragm. Peristaltic movements of alimentary canal, circulatory movements, contraction, relaxation of heart muscle, systole, diastole, that only helps in the pumping of blood, all that are internal movements. External movements like movements of limbs, movements of head and walking, jumping, all that are external movements. And in these movements, muscles are involved. These are muscular movements. Here we are discussing about the muscular movements only, particularly skeletal movements. As already I told, under this chapter, we are studying two sub-chapters. One is muscular system, another is skeletal system. Why we are studying these two systems together? What is the link between the muscular system, skeletal system, locomotion and movements? Why we are studying this? Here particularly skeletal muscles that are connected to what? Bones by means of tendons. The skeletal muscles, tendons, bones, three combinedly forms leverine mechanism. This you studied in lower classes in your school days. First class lever, second class lever, third class lever. What is the first class lever? If the first class lever, second class, third class. What is first class? If the fulcrum lies between effort and resistance, first class. Second class, if the resistance lies between effort and fulcrum. Third class, effort lies between Effort lies between fulcrum and resistance. Fulcrum and resistance. Here, in case as also, suppose we are moving our forearm towards the upper arm. Tension develops in the muscles of forearm. That is transferred to the bone of upper arm humerus. Here resistance. Both get stoned here. This is the fulcrum. This is an example for what? First class leverine mechanism. Here the movements are possible because of leverine mechanism. First class, second class, third class. That's why a leverine mechanism is formed by muscular system, skeletal muscles, bones along with the tendons. That's why we are studying the muscular and skeletal systems together, my dear friends. Then coming to the muscles in vertebrates, in higher animals, muscles are three types. No doubt the muscles, they will differ in their shape, in their location, in their function, but mainly based on their location. Mainly based on their location. Muscles are three types: skeletal muscles, visceral muscles, and cardiac muscles. Skeletal, visceral, and cardiac muscles. The muscles which are attached to the bones, skeletal muscles. Muscles which are present in the inner viscera, visceral muscles. Muscles which are present in the heart wall, myocardium of heart wall, they are cardiac muscles. Based on mainly location. Then coming to how these muscles, they differ structurally and functionally. What are their properties? A muscle cell is called as myocyte. Muscle cell is called as myocyte or myofiber or sarcocyte, everything same. A myocyte or myofiber or sarcocyte, that refers to a muscle cell. A myofiber of skeletal muscle is elongated, cylindrical, unbranched. But visceral muscle cell is fusiformed. Broad at the center, tapered at the ends. A cardiac myofibers they are elongated, cylindrical, but branch. They are connected to with one another, but a branch. Then coming to the nucleus. A skeletal myofiber consists several nuclei, oval-shaped nuclei. They are peripherally arranged. That's why skeletal muscle is said to be what? Syncytial. What is syncytial? Multinucleated. Several oval nuclei. But a visceral muscle cell consists a single nucleus, uninucleated. Cardiac muscle, for each myofiber consists many nuclei, but in between them thickened portions are present, which are called as intercalated discs. Which represents the junctions between the cells. What is the meaning of that? Each cardiac myofiber is not unicellular, multicellular. Skeletal muscles are unicellular, uninucleated, and each cardiac myofiber is multicellular and uninucleated. Then coming to the next, these skeletal muscles are innervated by somatic motor nerves. That's why these are voluntary. Visceral muscles and cardiac muscles are innervated by autonomic nervous system. That's why they are involuntary. That's why involuntary. These skeletal muscles are voluntary, visceral and cardiac muscles are involuntary. Then coming to a myofiber or muscle cell consists contractile proteins that are called as actin and myosin. Actin and myosin. Here carefully listen. In case of skeletal muscle and cardiac muscles, these actin and myosin filaments, they are arranged alternating with one another. As a result, light dark band forms. Then the entire muscle appears like stripes, light dark alternating with one another. That's why the skeletal and cardiac muscles are striated muscles, striped muscles. In case of visceral muscles, don't say actin, myosin are absent, they are randomly distributed. No light dark bands. These are unstriated muscles or smooth muscles. Coming to cardiac muscles, they are structurally resembling with what skeletal muscles, they are striated, but functionally resembling with what smooth muscles, involuntary. Skeletal muscles are striated voluntary, visceral muscles are unstriated involuntary, cardiac muscles are striated involuntary. Okay, my dear students. Then coming to this, here cardiac muscles are skeletal muscles, they undergoes rapid contraction. The contractions remains for short period. Very soon undergoes fatigue. Visceral muscles, they respond slowly, remains in a partial contracted state for long period. But cardiac muscles, they exhibits rhythmicity. They undergoes continuous contractions, cyclical contractions. What is the reason for their rhythmicity? Because all the fibers are connected with one another. Further, they does not undergo fatigue. They are with what? High mitochondria, large amounts of myoglobin. That's why they never undergoes fatigue. Skeletal muscles undergoes fatigue. Visceral muscles does not undergo fatigue, but they exhibit irregular contractions called as spasms. Okay, my dear students. Then coming to here, we are discussing the skeletal muscles. A skeletal muscle like a biceps, triceps, a large muscle. A large muscle is completely enclosed by, covered by a dense irregular connective tissue sheath called as epimysium. Inside the epimysium, myofibers are arranged in bundles. Each bundle is called as fasciculus. Inside the fasciculus, what are present? Myofibers. Each fasciculus is also covered by connective tissue layer that is called as fascia. Or perimysium. Then individual myofiber covered by endomysium. Epimysium, perimysium, endomysium. In a skeletal muscle, myofibers extends only up to certain region. Beyond that also this epimysium, perimysium, endomysium extends and connected to periosteum of the bone. In that way, skeletal muscles are connected to bone and forming a musculoskeletal junctions. These junctions are called as tendons. Tendons are aponeurium. aponeurin. In the muscle, muscle spindles are present. In the muscle, muscle spindles are present. Muscle spindles are present. And the Golgi apparatus in the tendon. Two together forms Golgi tendon apparatus. Golgi tendon apparatus. Tension developed in the muscle transferred to the bone. Bones resist that resistance. Here the effort, here the resistance. Here both are toned. That is fulcrum. Then the movements becomes possible. Movements becomes possible. Okay, this is to end. Here the tension developing in the muscles transferred via tendon to the bone. Bones offering resistance. When both gets balanced, movements occurs. Movements occurs. This is about what? Skeletal muscle. This is about skeletal muscle. Then coming to the skeletal muscles, wherever they are present, they occurs in pairs and antagonistic. Suppose we are moving our forearm towards the upper arm. Here a muscle present called as what? Biceps. Contraction of that muscle takes the forearm towards the upper arm. Again here one more muscle present called as triceps. Contraction of that takes the forearm back. Forearm back. Always the skeletal muscles appears in pairs with antagonistic function, quite opposite function. Quite opposite function. Then coming to the skeletal myofiber, a skeletal muscle is made up of several bundles called as fasciculus, and in each fasciculus myofibers are present. Coming to the structure of a skeletal myofiber, skeletal muscle cell. Skeletal muscle cell. Here it is a muscle cell or myofiber. Sarcolemma is the plasma membrane. Plasma membrane covering it is called as sarcolemma. The cytoplasm of the muscle is called as sarcoplasm. Sarcoplasm. Next, in the sarcoplasm, extensive network is present. Extensive network of ER. Extensive network of ER is present. That is called as sarcoplasmic reticulum. Sarcoplasmic reticulum. Then come to mitochondria of the muscle are called as the sarcosomes. Sarcosomes. And in addition to this, several parallelly arranged structures are present that are called as myofibrils. That are called what? Myofibrils. A myofibril consists actin and myosin filaments, which are myofilaments. Now, if you enlarge this myofibril, inside what are present? Actin and myosin are present. That we will discuss in next class. Here, now the enlarged one myofibril. Inside the myofibril, what are present? Now this is a myofibril. Inside the myofibril, actin and myosin are present, which are called as contractile proteins, but they never undergoes contraction. Don't say they contract. At the time of muscle contraction, actin filaments are pulled onto myosin filament. When actin filaments are pulled onto myosin filament, myofibril becomes short. When myofibrils become short, the myofibers become shortened. When myofibers shortens, muscle length becomes short, that only muscle contraction. In case of skeletal muscle and cardiac muscle, all actin filaments at one place followed by myosin. Again actin, and again myosin. They are arranged like this alternately. As the actin filaments are thin filaments, the portion of the myofibril where actin filaments appear, that is somewhat pale. That only called as light band. light band or isotropic band. The portion where myosin filaments are present, which are thick filaments, that is a dark band. That is a dark band or anisotropic band. Anisotropic band. In each I band is uniform, A band is not uniform, because into A band the actin filaments penetrates into the A band to some extent. That's why the lateral portions of the A band are more dark compared to the middle zone, which is called as H zone. Which is called what? H zone. In each H zone a vertical hair like line present, that is called as M line. That is called what? M line. Similarly, in each light band a zigzag Z line present. Portion of myofibril from one Z line to another Z line, that only sarcomere. Structural and functional unit of muscle. Okay, students. Further detail about actin and myosin filaments and muscle contraction, that we will discuss in the next class.